Hey guys, hope you are enjoying your Friday evening. This is Mutant XP with my partner,
In-house.
the man with the
House.
most, House
House.
TX. Before we get anywhere, Hoss, how are you doing?
Pretty good, man. How about yourself?
All right. So, just wondering how you're holding up, considering all that's going on right now.
Well, things are slowed down quite a bit, obviously, for most
Mm-hmm.
people. But still getting business, which is good. Lucky and have been just fortunate enough to be able to have that sort of thing happen for me. And that's pretty much it, man. Same routine, just more indoors, obviously. More careful with everything, packaging, everything like that. You know how it goes. Just more paranoia, just to be
Definitely.
on the safe side and stuff like that. How about yourself? How are you handling everything?
Just working from home. Both me and wifey XP.
Awesome.
Uh, I think
Shout out to Sarah.
I think we're still locked down. I'm not really sure.
Yeah, we are here actually, 9 p.m. If you go after 9 p.m. is a huge fine.
Mm-hmm.
Unless you're going to get something like, obviously if you're going to the grocery store or something around that time, they allow it.
Yeah.
But there's no cruising, I mean, no chilling, no unnecessary driving basically and being out.
So, enough of today, man, because today, quite frankly, sucks, dude. Like, let's just kind of call it a spade a spade.
Yeah, yeah,
Stuff sucks, and so
it does.
why not spend your Friday night thinking about better times? And
Yes.
so that brings me to this show. My name is Mutant XP with my co-host Hoss TX, and this is the Run It Back Show, the podcast where we talk about a specific year in what I think Haas and I agree is the greatest decade, which is the 90s.
Absolutely. No questions asked. Obviously, I don't care if it's biased or not, is the best.
And so this is the podcast that takes a chronological look back on each year of the 90s. And so we are starting out with 1992. And for those of you who have not seen the first episode of the Run It Back Show, just a little background. The reason that we chose to start with 1992 is because that was the year that a current version of Street Fighter that's very close to my heart, Haas, was released. And of course, I am referring to Street Fighter 2 Hyper Fighting. And
Not to be
so,
confused with Championship Edition.
Championship. we can get to that next episode.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, for sure.
Because that's where that certain concern or issue appears. And so, anyway, guys, we are taking a chronological look back on each year in the 90s. And so this is episode 2. And we are going to be taking a look back at February 1992, Haas. Any memories or anything that stands out in your mind as far as what you were doing in 1992? February?
Same old, man. Just arcades and just being outdoors, just doing everything that was, all the freedoms you had, all the things that you could do with everything everything was so cheap too, man. You could get anything for anything, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it was great. I mean, of course, inflation, changes the numbers, obviously, but it was relatively cheap for what you could get for your dollar, right? So it was pretty good times. But I mean, honestly, if I look back at '92, it's like middle school and arcades for me. That's pretty much all there is to it.
Yeah, I had a very similar experience too. Continuing to hit the arcades, the video game stores. I was never much of an athletic kid.
I wasn't either, actually. I mean, I used to run around and shit, but I never actually went to the gyms and stuff like that.
Yeah, so we're gonna go ahead and get this show started. And so once again, guys, what we do here is take a chronological look back on each month of a year. And so again, we are starting with 1992. On the first episode, we took a different approach. We tried to do a kind of topical order. And so tonight we're going to try and something different. And we're going to do purely chronological because sometimes traditional isn't always that bad, right, Haas?
No, absolutely not.
All right. So let's start with February 5th, 1992. Haas, a show that was very near and dear to my heart growing up was The Wonder Years. For those of you who are unfamiliar with The Wonder Years was a television show chronicling the the trials and tribulations of the Arnolds, a 60s family living during a turbulent decade, Vietnam War, civil rights, etc. This is a show that launched the careers of, namely, Fred Savage, who was played the main character, and so this particular episode is one of the better ones, Haas. And so before I get to it, do you have any kind of memories about the Wonder Years and whether
I'm gonna be honest with
or
you.
not you were
Every
into
time
it?
I used to watch the show all the time
Mhm.
with my friend Somi. I met recently he had actually moved recently from India to
Mhm.
the U.S. He moved to Austin, Texas, and I used to chill at his place all the time and watch. Actually, this is one of the shows I used to watch all the time. But to me, Fred Savage, you know who he was to me? He was the wizard, man. He
The
was the wizard. Every time I see
The
Fred Savage, I think about that movie.
Wizard.
The Power Glove, man. The Power
The
Glove.
Wizard.
That's pretty much it.
Dude, you're right.
But that's me though. No, the show. I mean, I used to watch it all the time. I mean, it was one of those sitcoms that you basically watch because it's one of the biggest. I mean, it was probably. I mean, what was it? It was top of the charts, right? Easily, right, for its time. So
let's go ahead and take a look at the cast real quickly. And so, like we talked about, Fred Savage playing the main character, Kevin Arnold. Dan Lauria, dude, he was probably the best actor on that show, right?
Yeah, for sure.
The dad, he had to have been the best actor on that show.
I mean, you have to have some good acting. It's some, you know what I mean? You got to have some of that somewhere in the show.
Like that.
What does he look like now, actually?
I don't even know if he's alive, actually, to be honest. We can take a look, though. He may have passed away already. Oh, no, he's still alive. Yeah,
Crazy.
He is still alive. Well, shout outs to Dan Lauria, wherever you are,
Holding
Dan.
that shit down.
Hold that shit down. Hope you're still living life in Brooklyn. No, maybe he's my neighbor, dude. Who knows? So we got Allie Mills. Oh, she was such a great actor on the show too. She played Norma Arnold, who was the obviously the wife of Jack Arnold. Olivia Diabo. Do you remember her? Huh?
Dude, that was my. Honestly, these names, I completely forgot about those. Dude, what's it called? She was in what's it called? Movie
Conan.
Arnold.
Conan.
Nick
She was in
Barbarian,
Conan
right?
the Destroyer. She was
Destroyer. Yep.
She was
That's
the
right.
princess. Okay, let's go ahead and get this out of the way, Haas. I know this is a 90s podcast, but I need to make sure that your answer is one that will allow this show to continue.
Okay.
Conan the Barbarian or Conan the Destroyer?
Okay, so way different feelings, okay, with both movies.
But you can only pick one. Answer carefully.
If I feel a certain way, I'm gonna watch one versus the other, right? You just don't watch both in the same.
Yeah,
mood.
I know, dude. I totally get you, dude. Like,
right?
Like,
you know what I'm saying?
There are certain times when you're in the mood for Barbarian, and there are certain times where you're in the mood for Destroyer. You know.
I'm gonna vote for any movie with James Earl Jones. Period. Okay.
Okay. I respect it. Okay. This podcast.
Just because it was like the story. It was the story of Conan, right? Yes. So it kind of leads in. So that's the reason I like that one. But honestly, for like the action-packed scenes and all the fucking shit with the snake and stuff like that.
That's what I was about to say, dude. Like,
right?
I can accept that aesthetically, Barbarian is the superior movie, but
the big
Destroyer is the more fun movie, right? Destroyer
is more fun. It's more like the Red Sonja of that series, right? It's more like action-packed like Red Sonja is too. You know what I mean? Like a lot of big, sort of more involvement with like actual like different types of creatures, right? Mm-hmm. Rather than like people so much, right? You know what I mean? I don't know. I feel like one thing that sticks out the most to me is the cauterizing. He takes his chest, anyways, that's for another time. But yeah, I think I'd say Destroyer for fun, Barbarian for story.
Yeah. So we have Jason Hervey, who played Wayne Arnold, the older brother, who was really the focus of this episode. Dana McKellar and Josh Shaviano, who played Kevin Arnold's friends. Winnie Cooper, of course. At some point, Haas, at some point, we are going to have a podcast specifically for the Wonder Years. But
I think so too, because I'm just looking at the pictures of these people now, and I'm like, I've not seen these people since the Wonder Years, right? I haven't looked at any of their pictures since then. And it's like tripping me out right now,
yeah,
right?
yeah. But we'll get to Winnie Cooper soon enough. But they weren't actually in this episode, because the episode was focused more on Wayne Arnold, who, after taking the SAT test, decides to enlist in the army, much to the chagrin of his family. And so I definitely recommend, for those of you who have never watched The Wonder Years before. I don't know. Actually, you know what, dude? I don't know if I would suggest this episode to people who have never watched The Wonder Years, Hoss.
I would just say start at the beginning.
Yeah, because Winnie and Paul, they're not even in the show. Karen, I mean, Karen's like, they have Karen specific episodes, but she's really not all that present compared to the other characters.
The foundation has to be set to understand the episode or get the most out of it, probably. You know what I mean? It makes sense.
But maybe top 5, right? Like, it would be like the top 5 to me, top 5 Wonder Years episodes, though, because this was like one of those episodes that rewarded the people who had watched the show, because throughout the show, Haas, if you recall, Kevin and Wayne, the little brother big brother dynamic, they had that kind of relationship, and it was established very early in the series, right, that Wayne was kind of a bully and always gave Kevin a hard time and stuff like that.
Yep.
But then in this episode, like shit gets real. You know what I'm saying? Right?
You start to see the truth.
Yeah, the shit gets real, and it's like just a heart wrencher, because it's like you're used to them having this kind of relationship, and then it's like, and I think the title of the episode sums it up really well, right? Private Butthead, because that's what they would call each other. And but more specifically, that's what Kevin would call Wayne, Butthead. And so it's a beautiful episode, Hoss, and I encourage everyone to watch it. Or maybe if you haven't watched Wonder Years in a while, go ahead and fire it up. And so, yeah, man. Anything else you want to say about the Wonder Years before we move on into the calendar?
Power Glove, man. Wizard. Watch the movie. Yeah. I'm sorry. I'm a little off topic. Honestly, the thing is, I have to go back, and if I watched a lot of them, I would remember them by heart. Right? Obviously, they would come back right away, but it's been that many years. I probably haven't seen Wonder Years in about 20 years. Yeah. So it's been a while. Or any episodes, better yet. There's some that I haven't seen since the years they came out. So it's been a long while. So
on a more somber note, Haas, one of the more notable events that happened in February 1992, for all the wrong reasons, was on February 11th. Mike Tyson was found guilty of rape, and so, like, from what I remember from this event, Haas. Well, first of all, I mean, let's talk about Mike Tyson, because actually, I don't know if you are aware of this, but today on Twitter, I saw a news that Mike Tyson has agreed to fight somebody in a bare knuckle fight.
I'd still be worried about the other person, honestly.
Yeah,
Mike Tyson, if he's got the rage, and when you have the rage and you can channel it properly, it's a very scary thing. Yeah, even the person that's not as strong can really, really knock the shit out of somebody. You know what I'm saying? You just got to have be in the zone, and I think Mike Tyson still has that. Honestly, I think he could do it. So I'm a little bit afraid for the other person, to be honest, whoever it is.
So yeah, I mean, it's just, I mean, I can't believe how long ago was this? This was 30 years ago, right?
Yeah, wow. Roughly.
Wow, it's just it's been a long time, but I don't know, man. Like, what do you remember from like Mike Tyson, dude? Like, I mean, obviously, he was, he stood trial, he was convicted, he was sentenced, and all that. But like, this is one of those, I think, to me, Haas, this is one of those first times where the fall of a sports athlete was so like heavily covered in the news, right? Like we could see every step of it, man.
Yeah, he Mike Tyson, just like, it was tough for all of us too, because like we were such a big fan, like, especially after the Sphinx fight, dude. What was that, 10-second round? I think was it on round 1, or how long was that round? By the way, But anyways, yeah, he was just like the best boxer of all kind, right? I mean, he
Mhm.
was like, at least during our gen, like he was the best. And until this day, I still like stand by. You know, I mean, obviously not the rape stuff, but like just like as far as how good he was, you know, at his prime, like the best. Honestly, he was the
Yeah,
best.
yeah. Like it was weird because it was like, remember how like Mike Tyson was so feared. You know what I mean? He had that aura, that Superman aura, like nothing could beat him.
Yep.
And it was just nuts. And for him to experience that this sort of fall, but
He was never the same after that, too. You know, he wasn't ever. He never boxed the same after that.
yeah, definitely. And so, yes, unfortunately, as history serves, not all of the occurrences that happened during this month are fond memories. But I think it's important that we remember some of these events. You know what I mean? So yeah. Anyway, move on from that depressing stuff.
Oh, Katie has a question about
Katie.
the bums. Yeah. What's up, Katie? By the way, how's it going, man? You know, I think the Spinks fight was one of those, actually, right? It had to have been. I mean, come on, let's be real. Did Spinks really stand a chance?
Not really.
No, I mean, I think that, right. I mean, no. I mean, that's a perfect example of what you're saying, for sure. Yeah. But I think, let's see, I'm trying to think of all the good fights that he had. Actually, the good ones. Obviously, Holyfield, when he bit the ear, I mean, come on, man. Like that was way years down the road. He was never the same after the prison. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, that's just not the same Mike Tyson we saw before. Mm-hmm. I think I would love to see Holyfield and him fight before, right? Yeah. But I mean, his record was sick, right? He had a fucking amazing record before that. Right?
By the way,
get through some people.
By the way, if you guys haven't seen the Holyfield documentary, you gotta watch it. You gotta watch it. There's this Holyfield documentary out there, Haas. It is amazing. It is amazing. But anyway, we got to move on. Let's talk about home releases. And so, on what day what day did this VHS drop again? Or this
February 12th.
This laser disc.
Laser disc.
So on February 12th, coming to home video was Double Impact, starring Jean-Claude Van Damme.
or as the French would say, Jean-Claude Van Damme. Or is that one chick told me?
So, Haas, we watched this movie a few days ago. Mm-hmm. I'm just gonna let you take it, man. Like, I can't even.
It's like the embodiment of the superhero action movie of the '90s, right? You know, Van Damme, you got Bolo Young, right? You know, you have any of those movies. You have, I mean, any movie that had Dolph Lundgren, Van Damme, right? Bolo Young, right? All those guys, right? You name any of those big dudes back then. That's basically the whole gist of that early 90s era to mid 90s era of movies, right? I mean, but the thing is, Double Impact, though, it was, looking back on it now as an adult, so many loopholes, which is fine. But the thing is, the action was good. The sound effects, I mean, everything you get out of those sort of movies, right, was pretty good. And I think it was one of the first few movies, I mean, not one of the first, but it was one of the earlier movies to make use of blue screen, not green screen, blue screen, right?
Yeah.
To have two of the same character on the screen or whatever, right? Mm-hmm. So that was fairly new, at least for that sort of time, right? It was. I think there's a few things that had done it before that, maybe, but like it was still fairly new, you know, for the movies or just TV in general. And so that was kind of neat, right? The technology, you know, was shown then for its time, and to this day, it doesn't look too bad. Still, you know, it's still all right. But it was good. I mean, if you put those characters in a movie, you don't have to show us the movie at all. We're gonna go watch it, right? We're gonna watch it. We've seen Bloodsport. We've seen all those other movies. We've seen Kickboxer with Tong Po, right, and stuff like that. And I mean, obviously Van Damme's not a professional martial artist, right? But he's a gymnast with a lot of good camera skills, I guess, right? So the triple shots and stuff like that are very hype. Mm-hmm. They look really cool regardless of how real it would be in a real fight or whatever else, right? So I think that that sort of movie kind of embodies like that sort of thing. I think that movie's really good example to show off that sort of thing. So, but yeah, I mean, I don't know. What about you, man? What do you think about Double Impact?
I'm just thinking about just how ridiculous the plot is. You know,
it's ridiculous. Yeah.
You know, so for those of you who've never seen Double Impact, basically, it's two twin brothers, right, Haas? And
yep.
So as a baby, I think their parents. You remember their parents were murdered in that amazing opening scene, right? That was like
Yes.
crazy.
Yep.
And so they're
That car scene.
separated, and then they just kind of get reunited, right? To
Yep.
reclaim their birthright or whatever. And what's funny about this movie is that like Van Damme really tried to play two different characters.
I think he did a pretty good job actually with
so
both.
what do you think about
believe it or
that,
not.
man? Like, did he do like I don't know, like I really don't know how to judge this dude. Like, I don't know if that was like good acting or just I don't know. I don't know.
Okay, so I'll tell you one thing: whether the acting was good or not, I did feel a difference in the characters. Well, I mean, obviously,
Yeah,
the
I
look is
did.
different, right? But outside of the look, though, outside of the look, the attitude was well done. I think. Whether or not it was bad acting on either side, I did believe that they were two separate characters. That's the thing, right?
I think maybe as a kid, right, I was more apt to my imagination, right? And so
Okay.
the suspension of disbelief is not as difficult to maintain
Yeah,
when you
for
are
sure.
younger than when you get older. And so to me, like it took like a good like 5-10 minutes. But like I distinctly remember as a kid, it took me like a good like maybe like 1/5 of the movie to kind of stop thinking like, okay, Van Damme is playing two characters. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Like that's
Yeah.
like I think that's the test, right? Like is there any point in the movie where you just like momentarily forget that these are two different, characters? You know what I mean? Because that's really
Believe
the
it or
key,
not,
right?
when we watched it, believe it or not, even as an adult, when we watched it,
Uh-huh.
I wasn't even thinking about that. I was thinking about the blue screen. I was thinking about the blue screen. But I believe it or not, it's as a kid though, it's like it's like you said, it's a little bit hard to swallow. But I think that believe it or not, even watching it for the first time in 20 years, it was. I believe there was two separate characters. Like I really did. It was. I don't know. I was in the zone. Maybe it's nostalgia. Maybe it's just because I've seen it before. I don't know. But the thing is, like I was. That's what I felt when I watched it. Believe it or not, I didn't even think for a second it was the same character playing too. I mean, obviously it is, but like what I mean, it's. I was like, I was immersed in the movie. That's the best way to put it, I think. So go watch the movie though. You should watch the movie. Okay, so I don't know if did I go mute or did you go mute? I can't hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Oh yeah, there you go.
And of course, shout outs to the director who has like the best name ever, Sheldon Lettich.
Sheldon Lettich.
And so one of the things that kind of surprised me, Hoss, I don't know if you were aware of this, but Van Damme has a story credit here. Apparently,
Yeah, I did not know that until you told me.
He helped write
actually.
the screen story.
And that's why there's so many holes in the plot. But hey, the action part of it, obviously he's got to be. He's got to have choreographed a lot of that, if not all of it, right? So I would imagine that the choreographed shit is so badass that like it's good. It outweighs the stuff. Like you forget quickly about the plot holes and stuff like that. You know what I mean? You quickly forget about that stuff.
You know who Van Damme kind of reminds me of, dude? Like Jason Statham, right?
Mm-hmm.
He's kind of like this generation's Van Damme.
Yeah, I'd say
like
so.
In the sense
that
remember Van Damme, right? Like in the 90s, like how many fucking movies did he have in the 90s, dude?
Oh, just so many. Like, Hard Target, Time Cop,
movies in the 90s,
everything,
right? And they were all like pretty good, right? Like pretty good, okay, like ranging around there, right? But it was consistent. Mm-hmm. It was like consistency, dude. Like Van Damme was like the consistent action star in the 90s. He
exactly.
Was like, he never tried to be something he wasn't. He just was like just sort of kind of like operating almost kind of like under the radar. You know what I mean? Yeah. And Jason Statham kind of operates that same way. Like he always has a movie. He always has multiple movies out. No one makes a big fuss about them, but they're good if you watch them or if you know that they're actually out there, right?
Yeah, Jason Statham, Scott Adkins as well. Scott Adkins is another Van Damme type character, right? Have you seen any of his movies? They're more of like they're not as big as the Van Damme movies were back in their time, right? But the thing is, Scott Adkins actually did act in several Van Damme movies. Mm-hmm. I think The Expendables for one of them, maybe two of them. He was in, I think it was it one of the Kickboxers or something else? There was some sort of assassination movie with him and Van Damme as well. So him and Adkins, they both. It's kind of cool because like Adkins is like And as well as Statham, obviously he's in Expendables as well, right? So there you have it right there.
Yeah.
So like you have Statham's more of the big action star, right? And Adkins is kind of the one who's like second to him, I would say.
Uh-huh.
But Adkins is pretty hyped too. I love Scott Adkins movies, man. I'm a huge fan of those as well as Statham movies. Of course, the first Transporter, right? I mean, come on, right? The scene with the fucking bicycle fucking pedals on the oil. I mean, let's be real, that was sick.
Yeah.
So, but the thing is, like, it was, Transporter 1. Yeah. Hard Target 2 is what it was. Adkins was in. He was in Hard Target Part 2.
Yeah.
So yeah, check that out as well. It's really bad in a good way.
And another sort of trope that I wanted to kind of talk about was the whole like twin brothers, like in martial arts movies, and then consequently like in fighting games, right? Like I feel like Van Damme is just like, I mean, you know, we all clown on his movies and shit, right? But like without those movies, those develop these like tropes and these motifs and these things that we've all just kind of learned to love, you know what I mean? And so like, this is like this movie with the twin brothers. It's like this sort of twins fighting each other and stuff like that. It's kind of crazy.
It's like a true Double Dragon movie that wasn't Double Dragon the movie. Because the Double Dragon movie was nothing like that. The only thing that was good about the first movie was Mark Dacascos.
Yes.
And it was one of his worst performances. But the thing is, like, it was the true Double Dragon we wanted.
Okay. Pipe dream. Because I did this when I was a kid too, dude. Like, I imagined, like, dude, like, who would I cast as, like, Billy and fucking, was it Billy and Jimmy, right?
Billy and Jimmy. Mm-hmm.
Like, who would I cast as Billy and Jimmy in, like, a Double Dragon movie? Did you ever, like, talk about that with your friends? Like,
every character. I mean, any sort of movie like that or any sort
of. So who would you cast, dude, in a Double Dragon movie, dude? Like, back then. Like, in 1992. February 1992. Who would you cast in a Double Dragon movie?
Okay, one of them would probably be. Would you say? I mean, they're pretty beefy, right? Those guys. So I'd say maybe Dolph Lundgren, probably, right? Dolph Lundgren maybe is one, but then who would be a good twin?
No. Dolph Lundgren.
He's too big, right? He's too big.
Dolph Lundgren's way too big. Dude.
He's too big. Okay, he's too big.
Okay.
I mean, of course, I could easily say Van Damme, right? You know what I mean? But let's see.
Okay. First of all, are they twin? They're not twins.
They're not though. There's brothers. You're right. They're not. Are they? Or are they?
Are they? Let's see. Let me see.
I don't know.
Let me check, because obviously they had different color hair. But let's look at this Jimmy Billy Lee fandom here. Okay. He is the older twin brother. So they are twins.
So they are twins. Okay.
So they are twins. So
maybe
that means
the two Van Dammes then. There you go.
That means you would have to cast. That means you would have to cast an actor that you think could pull off. No, it said they were twins in the wiki. Katie, here, check it out. Let me see. Let me bring it up again. It says they were twins.
You know what's funny? On the Double Dragon 1 cover for the NES, they look nothing alike. Well, maybe they do. Same face, but just different hair colors.
Yeah, so let's take a look. This is the undisputed, reputable, authoritative source on all your Double Dragon lore. And so...
Oh, yeah. You know, Wiki is the best one. I mean, obviously.
Billy Lee is one of the two main protagonists of Double Dragon series. He is the younger twin brother of Jimmy Lee. So they are twins. I don't know, man.
I don't know who I'd pick, because, I mean, Dacascos was the part. I mean, I like Dacascos. I think he's great. I just think that he was too young, and it just doesn't. I mean, I don't know. He's not like a Double Dragon type of character, you know what I mean? It's not his thing. He's just not. Dacascos isn't that sort of. I don't know. I don't think he was a good pick, even though I think he's great.
Do you think Double Impact was basically like their attempt to do Double Dragon, but they couldn't get the rights?
Like a true non-cheesy Double Dragon? Yeah, I think so. Maybe so. That would be cool to find out.
There's anyone in the chat that knows about that? That's interesting. Dude, if only they would just spend a little bit more money. And well, I don't know, but that's the thing, right? Like, why would you waste Double Dragon on someone like Jean-Claude Van Damme? But who else could pull it off in the '90s? Who else could pull that off, Haas?
Trying to think of all that popular actors in the '90s.
Dude, maybe in the late
You know
90s.
what?
Oh, dude,
You know
I got you.
what?
I got you.
Steven Seagal. Steven Seagal for one of them. Or is he too tall?
Steven
Maybe.
Seagal. What? No, you're on crack.
Okay,
Haas.
fine. I'm going too far off the edge here. Yeah, it's better than Dolph Lundgren, wouldn't I?
This is
These guys are 5'10". Steven Seagal is taller than that.
Seagal.
No, it's
not. How about Brandon Lee, man?
Okay, Brandon Lee.
Imagine
yeah,
Brandon Lee.
Yeah, for sure.
Brandon
yeah,
Lee in
Lee.
a Double Dragon movie, but then they just basically double him using blue screen.
Okay. And he'd be probably the most qualified one too, right? If you think about it, right? He'd be the most qualified out of all those
that would
names.
Be sick.
Yeah. Yep.
That would be sick. Anyway, we're getting off topic here. Let's go through more of the cast. Shout out. Oh, R.I.P. Brandon Lee, obviously. Whenever we get to the year when The Crow came out, was that 94, 95, something like that? We'll definitely have a Crow-centric episode.
Crow's too good, man.
Yeah. So Jeffrey Lewis, a veteran in 90s action movies. What do we call those? These character actors, right?
He's in like every movie, and you never remember his name.
And he passed away, unfortunately, April 7th, 2015. He was 79. And so he was in a lot of action movies. And so he played Frank Avery, who took care of Alex or Chad. I always mix them up. Is Alex like the tough guy one who lives in Hong Kong?
I think Alex is. I want to say Alex is the first one.
Okay.
Is the one with the fro. Chad's the one with the slick back hair.
Yeah. There's the love interest, Alona Shaw.
Yes.
She's a very very attractive actress. Haas. We'll just leave it at that.
Absolutely. Turns out, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm looking at her history of filmography here. She was in Miami Vice. Interesting. Okay. Double Impact. Cyborg Cop. Okay.
And then I'm just going to skip ahead, and we need to talk about the great Bolo Young, Haas.
Yes, absolutely.
So take it away, Haas. I know you have a lot to say about Bolo Young.
I mean, so the first time you see Bolo, I think the first time I saw Bolo Young in a movie was probably Kickboxer. It was the first movie I was introduced to the character. No. I didn't see Enter the Dragon. No, I did see Enter the Dragon, but I didn't remember it too well as a kid. I saw it when I was like way young, right? And then I didn't remember enough of it to realize that Bolo Young was actually in there. But the thing is, Bloodsport, that movie right there, seeing him as the villain and stuff like that, ruthless villain, scary looking, huge dude. I mean, like fucking just stacked, ready to fucking like murder anybody in his way. I mean, that shit scared the shit out of you. I mean, like you see Van Damme, no problem. He's gonna get through the whole arena. All the people that he has to fight to get to the top, and then he sees that guy and he watches him, and you could just feel like the just how intense it was, and how scary that character was. And then you start seeing him in other movies and stuff like that, with Van Damme, and from then on and whatnot, like of course Double Impact later on and stuff. And he always plays like the main boss, right? He is the boss, he is the guy that they go to when nobody else can do the job, right? On the bad guy side. And he is the one that gets it done, if anyone, right? And so, he was just all of his movies. There's some really cheesy movies that he was in, but we can get into that later. But he was probably one of the most memorable just faces during that time, just because he was an actual real martial artist in comparison to Van Damme, right? He was actually how many belts does the guy have? Bolo Young. He's a champion, right? He won a lot of stuff before his movie acting careers, right? So
he's a bodybuilding champion, yeah.
Let's see here. Hold on.
So I think I remember I told you this, Haas, a couple of days ago, but in the 90s, I grew up in a small suburban city called Monterey Park that was a few miles away from LA in Southern California. And Bolo Young happened to live in the same city that I did. And I've actually seen Bolo Young a couple times growing up in Monterey Park. And so, yeah.
Can you quote some of your lines from Bloodsport, please? I just go up to him and be like, hey, can you quote that line?
Yeah, right. I bet he gets that all the time. But like, no one ever bothered him, or at least it never seemed like anyone bothered him or whatever. But
I mean, how could you? I'd be scared shitless, right?
Yeah, definitely.
The guy's gonna break my back if I talk to him the wrong way. Yeah. It's like, get the hell away from this dude.
So like he was significantly like skinnier in this movie than he was in Bloodsport.
Right, yeah. He was definitely more fit. I mean, he's pretty old now, right? What's his age right now? He's born in 46, right?
Yeah. So
and Bloodsport was 88, right?
Yeah.
So that's 4 years. That's only 4 year difference, but like still, I guess. So he was already 40. What? Yeah, he was already 42, right? So then he went from 42 to 46. I mean, a lot can happen in those years, I guess, right?
He's been in 111 movies.
Yep.
Wow. That's a lot.
Oh yeah.
That's quite a bit. Bolo Young, very badass. Gets that scar at the beginning of the movie.
Heck yeah, man.
Yeah, it was definitely awesome movie. You guys should check it out. Double Impact. And speaking of awesome movies, where is it here? Oh, there you go. Speaking of awesome movies, Haas, on Valentine's Day, February 14th, 1992, guess what movie came out? Wayne's World. Haas, what are some of your fond memories about Wayne's World, man?
Well, I was introduced to Wayne's World through Saturday Night Live initially, right? And so I was hyped up for the movie because I always loved to watch. I used to especially like the Saturday Night Lives that had, those two on there, Dana Carvey and Michael Myers, playing on Wayne's World and stuff like that. So I was already kind of, it was so stupid and silly, and it was perfect for that age group, and actually perfect now watching it again as an adult. Perfect for the adult group as well. There's a lot of stuff you won't get as a kid, right? So it kind of is really good at hitting two different, just being more broad at its audience, how it could grasp every type of audience or the types of audiences that wanted to, on a broader scale than average comedy, right? And so it was, so anyways, when the movie comes out, I remember I was in middle school and we were watching, I think it was Channel 1, right? And then during the commercial break, they had like movies that were coming out and stuff like that. And then I remember seeing the commercial for Wayne's World for the first time on Channel 1, I think it was. And so I watched that, and I was like, holy shit, we got to see this movie when it comes out. And so we saw it in the theaters the day of, and it was as awesome as you could imagine. I mean, it's got everything you'd ever want. It was really cool. It was a lot of introduction to a lot of things, introduction to a lot of types of music, introduction to a lot of types of ways of life, I guess, and just kind of views of different, it was very broad. That movie hit a lot of angles, right? It was very random in some ways, right? Very, very random, in a good way. But yeah, that was pretty much it, man. It was just like I was really hyped for it. I mean, I love it. I love everything about it. It's still funny to this day to me. And shout outs to Robert Patrick for being in the movie. Love it. The Terminator cameo was sick. That was like one of my favorite parts. But pretty much all there is to it, man. It was just, I recommend watching it. It's really, really cool.
So, Hoss, 100% of my musical tastes come from my older brother, who is out in Southern California. And so, and the kind of music he listened to was a lot of, at least I guess what we would consider now is like classic rock, right? But
right.
My brother is considerably older than me, and so like when a lot of the stuff in the 70s came out, like he was born in like 60, like in the early 60s.
Okay.
And so there was quite a bit of an age difference between me and my brother. And so obviously he had a little bit more older musical taste. But I was still kind of young. And so, with this sort of, with that huge age gap, right? Like basically like a 20 plus year age gap between me and my brother. Like everything that like I got in terms of music was a much more kind of from an older generation. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And so, like that kind of influenced kind of like the music that I got into. I just basically always listened to the music that he did. Remember, I don't know if you remember some of your favorite radio stations back in the day, Haas, but 92, I was rocking that pirate radio, Southern California. You remember pirate radio, dude? The metal,
I didn't have
hard
access
rock.
To it.
Yeah, but you were in Texas, but you heard of it, right? That's how big it was. Pirate radio.
Yeah.
That was where you got all your hard rock, heavy metal songs, dude.
Yep.
92.3 classic rock KNAC. I don't know if you ever heard of that out in Southern California.
We had 104.3 KNAC,
Okay.
KNACC, two
Okay.
C's. I don't know if it's the same.
Uh-huh.
I don't know if it's like iHeartRadio where they were like, parallel, right, in different
Uh-huh.
areas. You know what I mean? I don't know if that was the case,
Uh-huh.
but we had KNAC. We also had 98.9 Z-Rock, back when Austin used to listen to metal.
Uh-huh.
98.9 Z-Rock. That was a station that we used to listen to well before Kiss even was around,
Right.
obviously. Kiss wasn't around back then.
Yeah.
But yeah, Z-Rock was the place to be, for sure. Mainly heavy rock and metal, of course. That was my choice of music during that time.
And I'm gonna say something that and like you were saying, right? Wayne's World was originally a skit from SNL,
Mm-hmm.
and like I'm gonna be totally 100 with you, Haas. Like I did not like SNL in the 90s, dude. Like for some reason, it just like I was more of like a In Living Color,
Okay.
kind of scene. And so, like,
All
I
right.
never was really into SNL. I was more like kind of In Living Color. That was like kind of like the show that I liked, the comedy that I kind of liked.
I mean, I liked all. I used to watch all of them, but I think mainly SNL for me was like certain skits, right? I would hope for certain skits to be
But
on
that's the thing,
SNL, and
right?
those are the ones
That's the thing, right? That's what was the most frustrating thing, Haas. Like,
you
like
wouldn't see it every
there
time,
was no like TiVo. Like we couldn't record these
right?
shows. Oh, I
You
mean
had
you
to sit and wait
could,
through it.
you could record it like on your if you had like one of those VCR recording things, right? But like like that's the most frustrating thing about SNL. There were just like a couple skits that you liked, but you had to watch the whole effing show. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like you
yeah.
had to watch a whole show to see if it was. And I didn't really like SNL very much, but I did like certain skits, and one of those was Wayne's World. And dude, every time I was able to catch a Wayne's World skit, it was amazing. And so when
And they weren't every week. They
yeah,
weren't every week.
no,
They were
no,
like once. They were like maybe once every 2 or 3 weeks, right?
uh-huh,
You see a Wayne's World. It wasn't every time. It
uh-huh,
wasn't guaranteed to be every time, which
yeah,
kind of sucked.
uh-huh.
But that's just the way it went.
And like basically when I was in middle school, I basically dressed like Garth. No, I'm not even shitting you. That's basically what I dressed like in middle school. I dressed like Garth. Just had the ripped
Sweet.
jeans,
Did you have the
fucking
poofy hair
flannel
and stuff too?
shirt. I would have a concert. I almost said I actually said what I should have said. I was gonna say flannel jeans and a Metallica shirt, but I was gonna say concert shirt because like I did wear from time to time shirts from other bands, but like most of them were Metallica because that was my favorite
Yeah,
band,
yeah. I had
right?
Pantera Metallica shirts all throughout
Yeah.
middle school, pretty much.
So like, and so when Wayne's World came out, and like finally, it almost felt like at school, like at least in my school, that wasn't like the cool or popular thing to be around. You know what I mean? Like that wasn't the cool or popular thing to be into. It was
Yeah, it was
more
like a
of like
minority of the population.
they were most of the school, like at least in my class, they're more into pop oriented stuff like that.
Yep. Yeah.
We'll
Same
get
here.
into music later, but like I was into like obviously we're gonna talk about grunge very very soon
Yes.
on this season, but I was more into hard first metal, hard rock, grunge, that stuff. And so when Wayne's World came out, like all of a sudden like people that had never spoken a word to me like started talking to me, or like you know what I mean, like or like now like what I was
Right.
into was cool, and it's like
Because it was the in thing, right? Yeah.
yeah.
The follow the leader people. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Exactly.
But anyway, I mean, on to the movie though. I mean, there's just so many amazing moments in the movie, and so I know you talked a little bit about some of them, but like, what do you think are like your all time like top three moments in the movie, dude? Give me your top three.
Okay, so this seems really cheesy. I have to say, Lara Flynn Boyle giving Wayne the gun rack.
Yeah,
Like that
that's a
was
good
completely
scene.
random. Like that made no sense. Like okay, so you have to think like you would expect anything to be in that package, but a fucking gun rack, right? Like of all things, right? Like there must be an inside joke there. There has to be, right? I mean, what is that? Obviously, I mean, if, I don't know if I can reuse it, but obviously, Robert Patrick making a cameo towards the end of the movie and stopping Wayne and asking him if he's his boy, and he like drives off real fast, all scared and stuff like that. I have to say also, what was it? The I'm trying to think part here. I mean, there's so many. I mean, I'm thinking. Okay, so I'm telling you what I'm thinking right now. I'm thinking about like the earlier scenes of Tia Carrere where he starts speaking Cantonese and stuff like that. I'm thinking about those scenes. I'm thinking about the scene where like he makes the cards and he makes fun of what's his name, the owner of
That's a
the
good
arcades,
scene
right?
too.
That's
It's
a
a
pretty
great
good one. I'm
scene.
thinking about. I'm just trying to wait which one I like the best out of those three. Obviously, Robert Patrick's scene is my favorite, so that's the top for me. Let's see what else. What else is there? There's so much. Okay. The randomness of Tia Carrere doing a music video at the end with the snakes and shit like that, and I mean, like you know what I mean, like that sort of jump from one thing to another, right? That was pretty cool too. I mean, I don't know if I can really name a third in particular, right? There are a couple that stick out to me. I mean, okay. So I don't want to steal this one. I think this is a lot of everybody's favorite scene, but of course, the opening scene with them in the car,
Uh-huh.
right? I mean, that's very iconic. That was obviously like that's a no-brainer, right? That's like the most obvious probably answer, right? But I would say easily that one too, right? But I think that's pretty much everybody's if anybody's seen the movie, right? So that's pretty much it for me. How about yours?
I'm really surprised that you did not mention, because to me, I mean, I because since you already went through all the seeds, I'm just gonna give you. And it's funny because I was like, as you were talking about it, right? I'm like, is he gonna say it? Is he gonna say it? Is he gonna say it? Dude, by far the best scene in the movie. Like in the movie, dude, like best scene hands down. There's no other scene that beats it. Maybe the multiple endings, but
Alice
maybe
Cooper?
the multiple
No?
endings. The Laverne and Shirley scene, dog.
Oh, okay.
Oh,
Yeah,
how'd
yeah,
you
yeah.
forget about it? That's the
They just
hands
did a good job.
down.
Okay.
The best
Okay.
scene in that movie, dude. The Laverne and Shirley scene.
Yeah, that's true.
Oh my gosh! And then like at the end, we're like, "Wait a minute, we gotta go to an Alice Cooper concert." And then the very next scene, it's like they cut to the concert,
Random, right?
and it's
Just
Alice
jump
Cooper
to
fucking in the middle of playing. I think it was Bride of Frankenstein, or what that song?
Yep.
Or Be
And they
My
get back,
Frankenstein, yeah.
and then they get backstage with them, and he gives them the history of Milwaukee, right?
Milwaukee. And then they just
Fucking Alice Cooper with the history
yeah.
nod there.
With the history.
Fucking hilarious, dude.
Oh man, dude.
I mean, that's definitely up there for me too. The Alice Cooper scene, I love it.
But Laverne and Shirley, I mean, it's
that's okay. I agree.
It's just amazing.
So I mean, the intro scene with the car, right? I mean, we can assume that's just like probably, that's already like there, right? You know what I mean? That just doesn't count as one of the three, right?
Yeah, definitely. Dude, I can't wait till we do 93 and we can talk about Wayne's World 2.
Here's the thing: as the months go on, more cool shit starts to come out, right? Yeah. So there's gonna be too much shit to talk about, and we have to really pick carefully, right?
Definitely.
So it's gonna be interesting to see where we go from here. And March is gonna be a very strong month too, as a matter of fact. Very, very strong month. So
another thing that really dominated television and the news throughout February of 1992, Haas, was the Winter Olympics. And remember how godlike 1992 is, because 1992 is the last year when the Winter Olympics and the Summer Olympics happened in the same year. Remember? Because now it's on alternate. That's right. So this was the last year in which winter and summer were held. And
it's a lot of Olympics in 1 year,
dude. I don't remember a whole lot about this Olympics, but what I definitely do remember is my entire town, because Monterey Park is a predominantly Asian American town, dude. Like, everybody was watching Kristi Yamaguchi.
Dude, Yamaguchi, everyone was watching.
Everyone was watching her. And, on February 22nd, 1992, Kristi Yamaguchi wins the Olympic gold medal in figure skating. This is an article from the New York Times. And so, dude, what do you remember about Kristi Yamaguchi? I mean, aside from the fact that she was quite.
I mean, for me, is that she was charismatic. She was the positive sort of role models that people would look up to, right? I mean, I could see how a lot of ice skating men and women would be into that after watching her performances and her sort of demeanor and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. I feel like she was a true like representation of what people would want to be if they were at the top, right? And so Yamaguchi, to me, favorite of all time. Like, to me, there may be more technical skaters out there, obviously, but the thing is, she's my favorite of all time. Like, she is the best to me personally. She let's put it this way, okay? Let me explain something, okay? Because I'm not.
Okay.
This is a little bit.
Okay.
It's within topic on Yamaguchi, okay?
All right, let's go. It's all good.
And I shouldn't know this, okay? I shouldn't know this, but I know this. Okay, so she had a special, an ice skating special, right? And she invited the Backstreet Boys to play, right, during her ice skating special. That was like a few years ago or something like that, right? I stomached that fucking band to watch her, to see this sort of skating special that went on, because I think it was like her birthday or something like that. And I was so excited to see it that I even stomached the Backstreet Boys. I did it. And I'm not proud that I did it, but I'm happy. I was that excited to see her. Okay, so that, I'm telling you right now, that's how strong of an that's how awesome I think Yamaguchi is. Like, if you can sit through that shit, then you know you're actually really, into what you're watching. So yeah, but it was short. There wasn't much of a performance anyways, but like it was pretty cool. I mean, it was all like, typical, like, New Year's Eve sort of thing with all the whatever. It was like that, but it was really cool to see Yamaguchi after all these years. You know what I mean? Especially after, it's a long time later. Right? I want to say this special happened around like, I want to say something. I moved here in 11, so maybe like somewhere after 11, sometime after 2011, that special came on, I think. And so I'm not sure if she did any after that, but yeah, Yamaguchi top for me. So
definitely. So Nancy Kerrigan took bronze.
I forget. Was that after she got caned in the
no?
Shins,
this is before.
This is before. 93 was when she. Yeah. Okay. Gotcha.
I think it was 94. But yeah. So shout outs to Christy Yamaguchi, wherever you are. We remember you, and all your glory and grace and elegance.
Best skater of all time.
And so we're gonna go ahead and really take a sharp turn here, Haas, a little bit.
Okay.
Because we're gonna fast forward to February 25th, and there are in our minds two of the most important music albums to drop on this day. And so the first that we're gonna talk about is none other than Pantera's sophomore offering, right? It's their second album or third album?
Okay, so check it out. So they had, so before Vulgar, they had Cemetery Gates. Before Cemetery Gates, they had Power Metal, and before that, don't even listen.
So they were like a hair metal band, right? At first.
Okay, so the album before Cemetery Gates was like their transition from like hair metal to kind of more of their sound now, right? Power Metal album was the album that kind of like, they still had a lot of the the cock rock sort of like vibrato shit, and then it started, and then Cemetery Gates had that, but it was a little bit darker, right? And so the transition album was definitely some of the power metal tracks into Cemetery Gates, probably. And then after that happened, Vulgar Display of Power was their first real, like, there wasn't really too much of that, that 80s sounding vibrato stuff in there and stuff like that. It was a different sound. It was definitely different than Cemetery Gates in its own way, and thank goodness it was, because they were both amazing in their own ways. But yes, it was I would consider it their third real album, or, well, if you want to talk about Cemetery Gates being the first real album, second real album that anybody should even try to listen to, probably. But yeah, they had a couple more before that. Power Metal, and then a couple more. The ones before that were terrible. Don't even bother. Really bad. So yeah, but it's a sick album. Definitely recommend it. Unfortunately, I did not hear it at that time. I didn't listen to too much Pantera during that time. So yeah, we're talking about shirts, right? I don't think I got a Pantera shirt till '94, actually, till Far Beyond Driven came out. Yeah, go. Sorry, go on. Yeah. That's pretty much all there is to it. They're from, again, I'm not trying to be like biased here, but they're from Dallas, Texas. Okay, so Texas metal band. Just listen to the difference between this metal and other shit. Okay, all that whiny, pansy shit that you hear on the fucking radio.
Oh, no.
Listen to the difference here.
Oh no, Haas.
This is the real deal. Okay, this is the real deal. This is real metal right here. Okay, this is the real.
Is this the real metal, dude?
This is the real metal.
The real metal.
This is real metal. Yes. I mean, Metallica too, right?
Dude, I really wish I got to see Pantera live, dude. The energy just looks so real.
There's so much violence at those shows. So much violence. Yeah, I had to dodge a few like beer bottles and stuff like that.
Wow,
the first show that I saw. My friend's big brother used to take us to the arcades and also drop us off at those shows. At the back room in Austin. If anybody remembers that place.
So what was it like? Because like you were saying, right? They're a Dallas-based band, so obviously they toured around that kind of Texas circuit area. You know what I mean?
Right.
So
they would be. I mean,
stuff.
Yeah, they were regulars in the back room. I'd say they show up at least. I mean, I said maybe once every 2 weeks, maybe once every 3 weeks to a month, right? They'd be in Austin, and they'd do shows at the back room. The back room was their place of choice, and it's right there off of Riverside, close to I-35 on the interstate, right there. It was sick, man. It was sick. I mean, I was like fucking 12 or 13, right? You know, I didn't buy their album back then because it was I didn't even know. You know, I chose Metallica at the time, you know, obviously, but I was at their show with my friend and his big brother. And all I remember is being too short to see over anybody. And there's a bunch of screaming and a bunch of like shit flying and fights starting out. And the mosh pits were actually real mosh pits. And it was pretty sick. And I remember I couldn't hear shit because one of the walls was reflecting all the sound in my right ear. And I couldn't hear anything out of that ear for like a half day. But it was a great show. I never got to see them in like an auditorium setting or like a concert setting, you know, like an outdoor play. I only saw them in the back room, that small little club. Wow. Which is kind of cool, actually. You know, it's kind of neat to see them on such a small stage. But yeah, that was pretty much it, man. It was very thrilling, very thrilling. So high energy.
Yeah. So this is like, I was, you know, looking at live performances of this song during 1992, and like each of them are just like ridiculously stupid amazing, dude.
Yeah, the energy is sick. This in particular, this track. Let's see. Like the thing is, Phil Anselmo. What most people don't realize is that he had a lot of spine problems, right? And he had a big heroin addiction, right?
Okay.
And so I can't remember which show it was. I don't know if it was in '92 or '93 or whatever year it was. But Phil Anselmo actually shot heroin directly into his spinal column to stop feeling pain from his spine problems. He shot heroin into his freaking spinal fluid to avoid the pain that he was feeling so he could put on a show. That guy's ridiculous. It's ridiculous, man. And just for the record, guys, this is the Doom track from Doom.
Dude, they sound so amazing live.
They are amazing live.
Yeah, that's awesome. Another in a sort of slightly different vein, Haas, slightly different genre. Another really amazing, influential landmark album that came out was none other than Ooh on the TLC Tip, the debut album of TLC, dude. Oh my goodness, dude, this album was like TLC was everywhere. Like, they were just everywhere. You could not like. I don't know, like how was TLC like when you were growing up, man? Like,
I had a friend that was really into only like he wasn't into rock and stuff like that. He was mostly into R&B and like, you know, soul music and stuff, which was a big. I mean, obviously soul and R&B was like a huge thing during that time, right? And so he was into TLC at first. Believe it or not, it took me a second to get into him, right? I was like, what the fuck is this person with a condom on her eye? You know, why would you wear a fucking condom on your eye over your fucking eye, right? Why would you do that? Yeah. And then after a while, I was like, man, these guys are pretty fucking hype, man. You know, I mean, like these chicks got it down, you know, and it turns out Left Eye ended up being my favorite in the end.
Dude, I think Left Eye was a lot of people's favorite.
Yeah, she's definitely the she looked the most ratchet with the condom over her eye and stuff like that. And then when she like kind of cleaned up, you know, in later years, she was the hottest out of all of them for sure, right? Yeah. I mean, Left Eye, man.
Dude. And Chili, the timeless one. Have you ever seen a photograph of Chili right now? She is a vampire. Okay, she's not human. She's a vampire. She looks exactly the same, Hoss.
You gotta be kidding me. So she's in one of the.
Okay, you know what? I want you to Google Chili right now. Okay. In 2018, 2019, dude, she looks exactly the same. She did not.
You gotta be fucking kidding me. There's actually a year comparison right here.
She did not age.
How is that possible?
I don't know. Well, I mean,
she doesn't have any she doesn't have any aging anything, like any sort of aging marks, anything like that on her face.
Yeah, dude, it's crazy.
That is weird.
Dude, they were so hyped, dude.
They were, yeah, they were. They really were, man.
And look and listen to how they sound live. Dude. There's no like lip singing or anything.
No, and they put on a good show too. They're very hyped. They're high energy. It was different, you know. I mean, they weren't like anybody else. Let's be real, right? I mean, there's a lot of that stuff that was poppy and kind of exciting and stuff, but nobody had what TLC had. You know what I mean? They were unique. Nobody could really copy them. You had women groups that had 3 women and stuff that were all soul groups. None of them were anything like TLC. Let's be real, right? You know,
Yeah.
In Vogue was their own thing. TLC was their own thing, right? SWV. What else was there? There was all of them, right? So.
Damn.
But yeah,
that's amazing.
Yeah, TLC's hype, man. I'm always.
That album was so good. Dude, that album was so good. It had "Ain't Too Proud to Beg," "Baby Baby," I think. It had what else did it have? It had "What About Your Friends," dude. That was a great song too. Yeah, that's great. All right, so moving on. February 27th, Hoss, a very funny episode of a show that's very near and dear to your heart, which is The Simpsons.
Oh yes,
Separate
this one
locations.
Actually, which is kind of funny because your Wonder Years episode, right? It's kind of funny because like I remember you were talking about this to me, and this is one that actually I'm gonna be honest, I had help picking this one out, so I'm gonna be real, okay? I'm not gonna lie about it. So Separate Vocations, actually, believe it or not, but I think you did it by chance. I think by chance it happened to be like a sort of a kind of like a parallel. To
it was a read, dude. It was. It
was. Think about it, right? Because I mean, this one is also has to do with the test, right? This one has to do with the test, and it has to do with the future of these characters.
Yeah.
So basically, I'm just going to read a little excerpt from the wiki here to kind of go over what it was about, so I can make it very clear here. It's called Separate Vocations, Simpsons episode, right? It was the 3rd season of Simpsons, 18th episode. Basically, it's the episode Springfield Elementary School students take career aptitude tests, right? When Lisa learns she is best suited to be a homemaker, her dreams of being a professional musician are shattered and she becomes a delinquent troublemaker at school. Bart does quite the opposite. He finds that he would make a good policeman, and his grades behavior improve, and Principal Skinner makes him a hall monitor. So basically, it was kind of funny. I remember watching this as a kid. And it was terrible because Lisa always shows up as like that bookworm, you know what I mean? You always see her as like the studious one and stuff like that. And Bart's always messing around and fucking around and stuff like that. And then like you can really feel the pain for Lisa in this episode. If you actually watch it, and you see her like get destroyed by these test results, right? And I think what Bart did, he just swapped the test, right? It was Bart that swapped them, right? Last minute, I think it was, right? Mm-hmm. It doesn't say that here, but I'm pretty sure that what Bart did was he swapped his with hers, or changed his name and erased his name and put hers, or vice versa, I think. But yeah, it was pretty sick. I remember, I mean, this era of Simpsons, I think it was like from the initial date up until like 95, 96, I watched every episode. Like I knew all of them by heart. After that, I kind of like, I mean, they're great. It just, they started falling off after a while to me. It wasn't the same sort of comedy. But I watched the crap out of this one, man. This is one I have on tape, actually, still. And I've probably seen it at least 50 times or more. Maybe more than that, maybe 100 times. I don't know. I've seen that whole tape who knows how many times. But it was pretty sick. It was definitely something, again, in comparison to Fred Savage and the Wonder Years there. Him, going off and taking the test to go in the military and find out if he's going to go there, and the whole family, tension and stuff like that ensues with this sort of thing. And interesting. I mean, actually, that was sick. That was a sick read, honestly. I have to say, it was pretty good. But I mean, that's pretty much all there is to it. It was a pretty sick episode. I mean, there's so many different things. I think the main part about it is that you really start. I think what makes this episode special is that, and what also reinforces what people loved about Simpsons in the very beginning is that you can really feel for the characters, right? You really feel for them, and you can kind of like, damn, like that. You get that feeling in your stomach, especially. I mean, I was a kid. I was 12, right? So it was like you're gonna be more into it probably, than. I don't know. You see it differently, as a kid. You don't want her to fail. You don't want her to go down that path. You know what I mean? But it kind of gives you a reality check and stuff like that, and teaches you a lot about certain things in life. So pretty cool stuff.
It's like it's the prototypical Simpsons episode, right? Because it's funny, obviously. It's funny, but it's trying to make a comment on something. Obviously Simpsons is a satire. It's a satire on American culture, satire on American society. And so it's really the prototypical Simpsons episode, right? That just obviously touches on stuff like gender roles and aptitude tests and things of that nature. I mean, that's why.
And the tension between her and her brother, right? And not just what they were doing, but the tension
Yes.
between them and how they felt towards each other when they were switching roles, right? You know what I mean? Like, how's that going to affect them?
Yeah, definitely. So, before we take our first break, Hoss, and come back with some video games, just some honorable mentions that, you know, we wanted to kind of hit up, because it's just, you know, when we think about doing this podcast, you know, it's like, you know, what are, like, it's almost like quick association, right? Like, you know, if someone were to ask you, what do you remember about February 1992? Go now. You know what I mean? Like, what are the first flashes of memory? And sometimes they're not all that great. Like, for example, like, I think everyone remembers. I think everyone remembers.
Right Said Fred.
Yeah, I think everyone remembers Right Said Fred, and I'm Too Sexy.
So, dude, what is with the rumor? So,
this song was #1 at the end of the month. I don't understand. It doesn't make any sense.
I remember I used to crack my parents up. My parents used to laugh. They were like, "This is so cheesy." Like, you know what I mean? They would laugh more about it than I would. I was like, I don't know. And so what is? So, is it true that I can't? The thing is, like, I heard so many stories about him being kidnapped at one point in his life. Right? Said Fred got kidnapped supposedly, but I couldn't find any data on it. So, did it really happen, or is that just like a Mandela effect thing? Like, what happened there?
Mandela effect thing. Yeah.
I just remember hearing so many things about him being kidnapped. Like, it was like, the lead singer.
I heard about that too, dude. I don't know.
You know what I mean? Like, what happened?
Say something.
Did somebody delete that from the internet? I mean, like, what? It's just like, I don't know, man.
Oh my gosh, dude.
Oh my god, his dance moves? I don't know, man. I don't know. the pleather pants.
Dude, anyone who grew up in this era, and you say, and you deny that you didn't, like, kind of groove to this, like, even if it wasn't, like, you're lying.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It's one of those musical phenomenons, dude.
It is.
You know,
I'm just glad I was 12 when it happened. That way it's not, you know, I have an excuse. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, right. Exactly. And speaking of other one-hit wonders, this is also the month when this track dropped, I guess. And so, you know, it's funny, Hoss, because I was like, you know, looking back on, you know, this song, and then it's like one of those weird things, right? It's like, you know, it was this, like, everyone knew about this song, right, Hoss? Like,
yeah, it's just like, to this day, people still know the lyrics. Like, everybody knows the lyrics of this track.
Yeah, and it's weird because, like, we were like, what? Like we were like 11 or whatever, right? Like, we were 10, 11 years old, dude.
Yup.
When this song dropped. Like, really?
This track...
Like, and we all knew the words, dude. And then, like, it's funny because, like, now that we listen to the words, like, I don't know about you, but it's like, I think to myself, oh, wow. Like, I can't believe, wow. Like, you know what I mean?
The stuff they got away with, right? The stuff they got away with, right? You know what I mean? Like, you know, like, the whole parallels to skinnier girls and, you know, white girls being skinnier, right? Naturally, and that being a bad thing, right? You know, it might stand today, because today, that's like, you're immune if you say stuff like that about white people, right? So it's like, whatever, you know? Yeah. So maybe that stuff would stand, but, like, the butt part, the objectification of women, would not stand today, right? Yeah. Like, you know, they'd be like, oh, it's, you know, whatever, you know, it's objectifying women, blah, 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 blah.
Which is funny because the part of the, like, a huge part of the popularity of the song was because at the time it was interpreted as sort of an argument that pushes back on, like, objectification, right? And those standards of women, right? Yep. Like, and the effect that the fashion industry has on body perception and stuff. And so that's, like, a large reason why it was popular. But then, like, your point is really great. It was still objectifying women, though. You know what I'm saying? Like, it was still objectifying women.
Kicking their asses right here, you know. And there's a big ass at the very beginning of the dude standing between the dude ass cheeks. I mean, you can't get much more objectification than that, right? I mean,
but at the time, right? This was like
by the slightest.
Yeah, but at the time, this was like the height of social critique. You know what I mean?
It was.
You know, just looking back on it, it's a little embarrassing, but you know.
I kind of like it though. Honestly.
No, the song's still godlike. But,
I kind of miss people being able to say what they want to say without being too. I still don't feel it's out of line. You know what I mean? I think people just want to find reasons to find things out of line.
Haas, have you ever seen the Sir Mix-a-Lot video where he does this song with an orchestra?
Never have I seen anything like that. No.
Okay. I found this the other day. Oh my god, dude. So basically, like 5 years ago, Sir Mix-a-Lot performed with the Seattle Symphony.
Holy shit. What the fuck?
Yeah,
okay.
Dog. Check this out, dude. Oh my god, this is ridiculous.
What I do now is something you really not do.
Dude, this video is ridiculous.
Orchestral movements from the hood night.
The same clothes and everything.
Yeah. Can you hear it?
Yeah, I can hear it.
I'm going to leave some of this open. If a couple of ladies would like to get up on the stage, I don't touch. All right. We will not bite unless you want us to. All right, there we go. We got a few coming. Steps over here.
What's up, Roadkill? Welcome, man.
Oh shit, Josh in the house. What's up, man? Oh, is it this chat can't hear it?
My conductor is like,
I think it's. I can hear it in the stream. I can hear the music. I can hear him talking.
Okay, there we go. Okay, we got enough.
We got enough.
Okay, you guys spread out. And we're gonna keep, Lord have mercy.
Can't believe you've never seen this video, dude.
Wow.
I've never seen this.
All right, I learned this from Ellen DeGeneres. Seattle, are you in the house? Okay. It's the selfie from hell. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to try a little something you may have never heard before. And this genius back here, by the way, this man is the shiznit. Trust me. Go ahead.
Question is, which one of them actually know the dance?
I like big butts and I cannot lie. You other brothers can't deny.
The mom in the front knows the most, of course. Yeah, the mom of course knows it. She was like,
oh my god,
like 12. Holy shit, she does know the dance. So she looks like she was probably like 20 something when I was like 12 or 11. You know that girl was in the clubs. You know she was in the clubs dancing that song every time she heard that shit. You know that.
This reminds me of the time my brother took me to a Whitesnake concert.
Oh god.
Oh no, not Whitesnake, Great White.
Oh okay.
Which is kind of worse, but yeah.
Can't be as bad as Nelson.
Check the average black man and ask him that. She got to pack much back. Where's my fellas? Fellas! When your girlfriend got the butt, tell him to shake it.
Oh my god.
Shake that big old butt.
Yeah, that mom knows it really well.
Oh man.
Yeah. He's smiling his ass off.
That librarian as well.
It's like, why is Seattle like the coolest place to live?
And when I'm throwing that,
you know, I'm jealous of every person who lives in Seattle.
Now here's my scandal.
Except for the weather, right?
Yeah. And double up. I ain't talking about Playboy, cause silicone parts are made for toys. I want them real thick and juicy, so find that juicy double. Mix-a-lot's in trouble, begging for a piece of that bubble. Start looking at rock videos,
Isn't that crazy? We're watching this now and it's like all moms are there dancing, or at least the ones that know the shit are the moms.
Yeah.
Blows my mind, man.
I won't cuss or hit ya, but I gotta be straight when I say I want kill the break of dawn. Baby got it going on. A lot of Sims don't like this song. They just like to hit it and quit it. And I'd rather stay and play.
Dude, this guy is like huffing and puffing right now.
And I'm trying to get the friction on. So
Well,
ladies,
Mr. Mix-a-Lot just heard eat a lot.
you wanna roll my Mercedes? Turn around,
See, where
stick it out.
is-
The whole room got to shout. Baby got back. 36, 20.
You see that guy you see that guy filming asses right there in the corner?
Yeah.
It comes right in and puts it right up to her butt, dude, like his phone.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's so obvious about it too. Wouldn't even like try to hide it. So just aim the phone at your ass.
Blows a Honda. When worked out tastes by fun. But Fonda ain't got a motor in the back of her. Sing that song.
Look at that one Asian on the corner. She's just going in.
Dude.
Oh, man. So they toss it and leave it.
Whoa, what's that random dude? Did you see a random dude in the back?
He's the one with that phone. He's the one with the phone that was recording the asses.
And I'm thinking about sticking to the beanball dames in the magazines. You ain't in this thing. Give me a sister. I can't resist that.
Oh my god. Oh my goodness.
Oh, settle down there.
Oh,
Settle
Seattle.
down. Holy shit. Yeah, man.
This is like the antithesis of social distancing.
Yeah, pretty much.
Oh, baby got back.
Oh my
Look at the
goodness.
guy in there. Is that a tuba? Look at it at the
God,
top.
I love doing this.
See the tuba?
Oh shit, yeah, he's got a fucking tuba out there. Let's go.
We got cello players with sunglasses on. Little in the middle, but you got much back. What are you? Oh, we need a lot of that. What are you? That's what I'm talking about. And what are you? Are you running from me?
The dude
Baby
in the
got
left.
back. I love y'all, baby.
Dude, that was amazing, right?
Dude, I've never seen this before. I feel like I didn't even know that existed, man. That's crazy. That is absolutely crazy.
That was amazing, right?
That was amazing.
Oh my gosh. So on that
Dude
note,
with the phone, no shame though, man.
Yeah, man. So on that note, guys, we're gonna go ahead and take a break. But when we come back, it's game night. We're gonna go through the February 1992 issue of GamePro, talk about some games, and then we're gonna do a long play. And tonight's long play is gonna be Turtles 3 Manhattan Project for Nintendo. And so don't go anywhere, guys. We'll be back in about 5 minutes.